Hey, good morning. Well, I'll give you a walk through my evolving workshop. That's the project that I'm working on at the moment, but I got to a point where the workshop was so disorganized. The way that it actually came to be was that all of the stuff that I still have that hasn't disappeared was just brought in by Vec. She put it into bags, which I have yet to look into. As you can see here, things put in the way of someone who is not into tools. But there's obviously some tools in there which I will be able to use, some quite expensive tools which were never taken. Part of the situation of living in the Philippines is that there's a different concept of ownership, and this is the way that unfolds. I don't know why, but tools are borrowed and never taken care of. You can see that this is how I got this back. I didn't get it back actually. This is how it was found. You can see that this is actually quite a newish router, but as I got that back, as soon as I started to use it, it spat out a little bearing and it hasn't gone since. I don't know why. You would think that when people have tools they would take care of them. I've actually cleaned this chisel. I've cleaned it up. I've actually ground out all of the rust that was on it. It was left lying somewhere in the dirt. The same with a hammer. I never heard of anybody abusing a hammer like this, but this is how I got it back. And you can see that where you might hold it is all rough, and the whole thing looks like a disgrace to hammers. So I bought a new hammer. I don't know why they break things, but they'll take a knife. How can you break the tip off a knife? Obviously by using it for something that it was never used for. I've cleaned this knife up. It's still locked in the open position, which I'll have to sort out. But what this means is that Beth and I now have an agreement. Look at this drill, the way that it's come back. It's been left in the dirt somewhere. It works, but look, if you look, everything about it is abused. The chuck is completely useless now. It's one of those things. I take care of my tools. It's not that I'm such a fastidious owner, but I keep my tools in good condition. So this is what I built. All of this I built with these basic tools. A couple of clamps, set square, a nice new saw, which fortunately nobody ever got their hands on, and which I keep in good order because it makes for easy use. Tape measure. This is a new tape measure. I tried to use one of the ones that had been used by Filipinos. It didn't work. And then it collapsed completely. This is how you see, look, here's two examples of two tapes which didn't survive. You find those in the dirt and they don't work. This is just things that you get back. This is how it comes back. And this is not meant to be a complaining thing, but it does tell you that the rule is if you're going to work and you're going to have tools, they cannot be borrowed. So even though it goes against the Filipino way, my rule is I do not lend tools at all. Because here you have it. You may have seen my video once, which I made with a slightly humorous slant about hammers. When I was building the house in the mountains, I would go to work in the morning, and the little space where the hammer was supposed to be would be empty. And that led me then to believe, Beth, where's my hammer? And Beth would say, I'll ask Nanai. This is the hierarchy that happens here. So she would go and she would ask Nanai, and Nanai would have borrowed the hammer. So the hammer would come back. It went out looking like this. This is what my hammer looks like. This one and this one. It's used, but it's not abused. I would get my hammer back and it would look like this. If you look at the two, it goes out looking like this and it comes back looking like this. So this happened 3 or 4 times. In the end, I tried to explain to Nanai, when I come out to go to work, I need to have my tools there, not somewhere else. So she said, yes, Terence. And of course she didn't listen. I come out, I find my hammer gone again. So I bought a hammer. I gave the hammer to Nanai. Nanai, here, this is your hammer. Now you don't have to borrow my hammer. It worked very well for a week or 2, and then I come back and where's my hammer? Beth, where's my hammer? And she said, I'll ask Nanai. So she goes to Nanai, and Nanai doesn't have a hammer. Nanai, where's your hammer that I bought for you? She said, somebody borrowed it. So you have to have a rule. You don't lend tools out. This I've been using, but you can see that it's abused. The footplate on it is in bad condition. So you cannot lend tools. Okay, so now I was working along and doing what I could, and I found that I just needed a bench. So I went out and I purchased a bench. Not in that form. This is all made of plywood, 3/4 plywood, and it's very, very strong. If you're going to build a bench, you've got to make something that is strong enough to stand on, and that is way strong enough to stand on. Now, at times I have to lift this up myself. This is part of the project, the reception desk that I'm building, and I have to lift that myself. Yes, I know there are people around, but you have to work out how to do it by yourself. So at first I was lifting it onto the little stool there, which is plastic, not a good idea. I made this as a small stool. This is 16 inches high. I'm still working in inches, by the way, and I can't work in metric. So I would lift it onto the stool first, and then I'd be able to lift it in a second lift onto the bench. It weighs about 50 or 60 pounds, but it's very awkward to lift, and you can't grab these things because they're ornaments. They're not made to be grabbed. So that's where I'm at now. I'm going to build another half bench, which is the same size, the same height as this and construction, but it will only be half as big. And then if I want to, I can add it onto this. It will match perfectly. Right now what I've been doing is building some storage space so that I can organize my tools and I can get everything organized there. The workshop is not well equipped. Eventually it will be, but it needs an extractor unit which would go up in the ceiling, which would take out the dust. It also needs better lighting. We never thought of using it as a workshop, and this lighting was enough for a garage. So it needs to have a lot more light. I'm a light addict, so that has to be done. As you can see, if you have any eye at all, the shelves should be level. You can see that I have a spirit level. The bubble is slightly out of whack, but even though I specifically said to Beth, I really need to have the garage floor level and smooth. No, it wasn't done like that, because in the exchange between Beth and the workers, they explained to her that it's only a garage, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. And you can see here the little places where it all changes day to day in the construction, that is. So that's why I have lots of cardboard on the floor, so that moving stuff around, it didn't get damaged. But in the end, I actually made this little board, and it is so that there's wheels on it, and that can be moved. I've got some more wheels here. I'll be making another one. But just touching very quickly on the project that I'm working, somebody, let me say, Craig, I think it was, said, "Oh, I wouldn't do it like that." This grid, making a grid system of a picture that you intend to enlarge, is the way that it's done, in my experience. So what you do is you take this. This is a photograph that's taken from a 1920s or 30s hotel in New York, and I like that basic figure. It has a lot of imagery there, which I don't want. The particular way the hand is, and this dress, and it's Art Deco, but this is like there's a half moon there, which I don't like. It below, when this was taken, below it was a photograph of the piece that was below it, and it was a Masonic symbol. I don't want any Masonic symbols there, so I'm going to take out and change the way that this figure has this costume on it, right, which is all of this. I'll take all of that out, but I'll take the basic figure, which you can see there, goes down onto the grid system, and I covered this piece of wood. I've covered it so that it's in paper. It's a lot easier to draw on, so that's why it's like that. And when it's finished, with a lot of adjustment, it will go into that. And I have another one for here, which will be the female. That's a change of plan. I was going to do something which involved this this astronomical motif, but I'm going to change that now. And I have that piece over there with, that's upside down, of course. Of course, I'm quite happy to discuss ways and methods and design, but if you're going to criticize, you should show me your work. Very easy to sit back in your chair and criticize, especially about how things are done. This grid system is an effective way of changing the proportions and size of a piece of artwork. As in this will be a relief, and a relief is something that's actually on a flat piece of board, but this line here will be taken out using a rotary tool, and it will give the impression of being three-dimensional, as you can see on the drawing, but it's actually not very three-dimensional at all. And somebody said that my explanation of that was discombobulated. Must be British to use a word like that. And he couldn't understand what I was talking about. Well, President Biden was like that. He couldn't understand a lot of what was said, but I won't go into that. Anyway, that's my little look with the levels on this, which will drive me crazy if I'm looking at that, and it's sloping off, falling off to the right. So I will be using a level and getting these here. They'll have wedges put under there once that's all sealed. It's not, this is not going to be something that could be moved, so it's not fixed. All that I've done on this part here, so that it can take some jiggling about, is I've just put a couple of pins in there just to hold it, so that's not moving. But I need a new spirit level. But you can see there, I think, that the bubble is off. So we need to get that bubble in the middle. So I'll be working on that and make sure that it's level to keep myself sane. And that will pretty well take care of the tools that I have at the moment, which is not much. So thanks for looking in. I hope that you'll share this video. It really helps when you share. Ah, hello young man. Have you come to see me? This is Ryder, my little friend Ryder. I think he misbehaves in some of the sawdust. I'll find out by and by. So, I am almost at the point where I can stop building my support. Another bench, as I explained, which will be half as big as that, but the same height and everything. Then I can get this assembled on a level surface. At the moment, trying to work on this floor on a sectional piece. I think there's 7 or 8 pieces on this particular bench, and I really need to be able to work on a level floor. So in the absence of having a level floor, I'll make the bench top level, which will make the job much easier. Then I'll put this up onto the bench and I'll be able to work at eye level height, which will be much, much better. So I'll be able to lock my workshop door and nobody comes in here except me. And that, unfortunately, is a way that it has to be. Because of all of these little things that are lying around, when people come in, the way that it used to be before we had our ironclad rule of no borrowing, no lending tools, before that, Beth would say, "What is it that you need?" And they would tell her what tool they needed, and they would come in here and pick up things. As I said, the concept of ownership is different in the Philippines. Thanks for listening in. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I'll be moving up and moving on with my artwork, which is all that is remaining to do on my reception desk. So I'll look forward to sharing updates on that with you. Bye for now.